Before I get onto this NXT review this week, I just want to talk about the big news topic that's been going around in NXT in these last couple of days. I mean, I've done the review already. I watched the show and review it and put all the footage together and edit it on Thursday evening, ready to upload on Saturday, which is probably when you're seeing this video right now. But it gives me a good 3-day period to add in such things as this, like big news stories. For example, Kassius Ohno getting released from WWE. It's a bit of a shock, I must admit. I mean, I know that he had a bit of an issue backstage with his weight and, you know, he wanted him to gain a little bit of muscle. I know there was some stuff backstage which prevented WWE from getting fully behind Kassius Ohno. You know, I didn't see any problems with his in-ring work and from a storyline standpoint or anything like that. So I think this release has not got anything to do with the fact that Kassius Ohno is a bad performer. I think WWE felt Cassius Ohno was a very good performer that they couldn't put their faith in because if they asked him to do something, he wouldn't do it. And I'm hearing a lot of rumblings that may or may not be true backstage that, you know, may have forced WWE's hand in releasing a guy like Cassius Ohno. Look, you got to look at it this way, people. Yeah, he can be a great talent and everything. And Cassius Ohno is a great talent. There's no doubt about that. We saw in his feud with Regal. These 2 matches he just had with Luke Harper were incredibly very good on NXT these last couple of weeks. But if you don't do the job that the company employs you are telling you to do, they have every reason to fire you, and that is just reality. You know, I know I'm in business myself, so I know exactly what's going on here. But please leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. Not saying, how did WWE release Cassius Ohno, such a great talent? No. Please leave logical comments in the comment section below. And now you'll be seeing my NXT review as it was on Thursday without me knowing about Kassius Ohno or anything like that. So please like, subscribe, and enjoy. Also comment. Welcome back to another NXT review with me, Mr. Parkin, on behalf of the British Fist, of course. So the usual links will be in the description box below. A link to this week's NXT show if you want to check it out, and also a link to Brandon Stroud's Best and Worst of NXT column, which I also recommend you guys check out on a weekly basis, much like I do. And a lot of the stuff he says sometimes gets reminisced in these reviews as well. As for the show overall this week, it wasn't the most entertaining of NXTs, I'll say that, and I think that's mostly because there was a lot of jobber matches. It seemed like WWE were either trying to tie up loose ends, or they were just trying to establish some new characters. And sometimes just having jobber matches and showcasing characters, you know, it's a good way to get them started on TV, maybe put them in a feud at some point down the line. But at the same time, there wasn't much storyline advancement on this show, and it just wasn't the most entertaining edition of NXT to sit through for an hour. That's all I'll say. If you have any comments in the comment section below, please give me them, and I will try to reply to them. I know I haven't been doing them lately, but I will try my best to reply to them when I do have time. Now let's get onto this show. So this was the show that they pretty much tied all the loose ends up with this Alexander Rusev angle that's going on with the female that keeps coming down to watch him and what's going on between him and Sylvester Lefort. We found out via a WWE.com exclusive that Rusev is no longer going to be associated with Sylvester Lefort. That led these two to have a match, which, of course, Alexander Rusev pretty much kicks Sylvester Lefort's ass, which some people, I guess, might find quite funny. The crowd was pretty much silent throughout all this, though. It's kind of like, well, it's heel versus heel. What do you expect? But the crowd may not have cared either way. But really, it's put the final nail in the coffin in an angle that's been building up for a couple of weeks now of the female whose name is Lana, and apparently she's Bulgarian, and she speaks in a foreign language, which is a guaranteed way to get heat, as we saw on this show. So it looks like Alexander Rusev now has a new manager going forward, and I just wonder if I thought that Sylvester Lefort was a very good manager for Alexander Rusev, but I wonder if now they're pairing him with this Lana female person, whoever she is, whether that's going to raise him up or whether that's just going to keep him down in the mid-card, where he pretty much is in NXT right now. And I think he definitely could be a lot higher than that if they put him in a somewhat credible feud. I don't know why NXT hyped up this return for Leo Kruger. He's only gone off TV for a couple of weeks. I mean, last time I remember him, he was having a match against Antonio Cesaro where he had a really good match with him and was made to look pretty damn tough and took a bit of a beating. You know, that was really it. It wasn't really a return. It was just he was on TV this week, 2 or 3 weeks after he was on the last TV. So that kind of confused me a little bit. And they were also hyping up Leo Kruger with this new character, like he's more aggressive and more deranged. And in this match with El Local, I didn't really see it. You know, it kind of reminds me of, remember when Kofi Kingston came with that Wildcat gimmick and he was supposed to be more aggressive and, you know, just damn right more aggressive in his matches and was supposed to start winning and doing it all costs, and he never really did. Well, that's kind of what this Leo Kruger gimmick reminds me of. It's like they're trying to give him a new, kind of more aggressive, deranged character, as the commentators said, but It never really happened. It was just the same old Leo Kruger, and once again, Leo Kruger seems like some kind of directionless talent, which, you know, I guess considering he's getting a little bit over with the crowd, maybe more as a babyface than a heel, is a little bit, you know, a little bit of a shame on NXT, really, even though I've never been the most massive fan of Leo Kruger personally. They had some Divas storyline advancement in this show. They didn't have an in-ring segment, but they had 2 backstage segments. They had one WWE.com exclusive, which they seem to be doing a fucking hell of a lot lately, between Paige and Emma, where they're having a bit of a bust-up, and you can see that rivalry there is heating up, and Emma versus Paige 2. Looking forward to that one. Definitely going to get that match now. That should be damn good. We've also got Summer Rae and Sasha Banks also on the show, sort of sticking their noses in Charlotte and Bayley's friendship and pretty much getting in everyone's hair, and that leads to a match next week. Summer Rae and Sasha Banks versus Bayley and Charlotte. And I must admit, I'm quite interested in the dynamic between Bayley and Charlotte Flair. However, I'm not a massive fan of Sasha Banks' acting skills. I think she really needs to go do a little bit of acting practice, because right now it just seems like she's got 3 facial expressions. And I know Brandon Stroud has picked on this many times as well, but she needs to learn how to just mix it up a little bit and just be a bit more natural as a heel, in my opinion. Summer Rae, fantastic talent, fantastic as a heel, but Sasha Banks really needs to pick up on that a little bit more. You know, ever since becoming the tag team champions, WWE or NXT in particular could have gone in a lot of different directions with the Ascension gimmick. They really could have. And I thought they were the right people to take the belts from Corey Graves and Adrian Neville. But of all the creative directions they decide to go in, they've gone down the let's put them against some jobbers on a week-in, week-out basis kind of thing. And to be honest with you, that to me, yes, it makes them look very strong and it's establishing their character and establishing their gimmick, but they've already established the gimmick. They've won the tag team championship. So I'm sitting there thinking, is this really all they're going to do with the Ascension? Because I quite honestly skipped this match because I really had no interest in seeing Ascension beat more jobbers. Can we not get a legitimate tag team feuding against them? Maybe not the best idea, but have Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy, who aren't really doing too much right now. Maybe put them in a feud with the Ascension. Even if it's only a part-time, short-term feud, at least we can get some entertainment out of it. Do you remember when Ascension had that great feud with the Usos? We need a team like the Usos on NXT that's legitimate enough to go up against the Ascension and not just some random put-together tag team that we've seen many times on NXT lately. You know, I like a little bit of variation on NXT, and to be honest with you, we didn't really get it this week. We had 4 jobber matches on this show before we got to the main event, which generally goes, you know, a decent amount of time in NXT, but goddamn, 4 jobber matches. Could we not switch it up a little bit and maybe have a semi-long match storyline segment and then a jobber match just in there to kind of mix it up a little bit? Because a show with 4 jobber segments reminds me of how NXT started when they were establishing the characters, and we should be much, much, much further from that right now. We should be in a much better position. But one character that I am interested in NXT right now is Mojo Rawley. You know, he's only in his 2nd match in NXT, and the crowd love this guy. The crowd really do seem to warm to Mojo Rawley, and you can kind of see why. You know, he's got that kind of, you know, yeah, I'm going to excite the crowd kind of gimmick, and you're going to have to cheer with me because I'm being hyper and everything. You know, and that's kind of reminds me of the Ultimate Warrior. And remember, he was quite over back in the early 90s with Hogan. So Mojo Rawley defeats this jobber. You know, I still think Mojo Rawley needs a much better finisher. I mean, seriously, just dropping on your ass onto a guy. Is that really the kind of finisher you want to give your hyped-up babyface kind of guy? Can we not give him a bit better of a finisher than that, please? And he actually got some pretty good, like, star treatment as well. Kind of reminds me of, like, a Roman Reigns or something when he first come on the scene in NXT. You got, like, the whole smoke business coming down from the center of the ring. You know when you're getting smoke pulled down you from the center of the ring, like Bo Dallas got when he became NXT champion, you know you're a big motherfucking deal in NXT. Mojo Rawley could be the next breakout star from NXT, in my opinion, and probably will be groomed at some point to win that NXT championship. So we didn't see Sami Zayn or Bo Dallas this week, and that's good, in my opinion. We've seen a lot of them lately. They've just had their big sort of first title match between the two, when they're trying to sell, Bo Dallas is trying to sell the fact that he's gone off somewhere, and probably Sami Zayn, they're going to, you know, sell the fact that he's going off thinking about it and everything. Kind of like they did with James Storm when he was on his way to the World Championship, even though he never got it. Let's hope that doesn't happen with Sami Zayn. I definitely think he should be the next person to hold that belt. But next week, we're going to be having Adrian Neville versus Corey Graves in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And I was like, what? They just had a singles match. And I'm like, well, it's a bit early for this match, isn't it? I mean, bloody hell, they've only been feuding for about 3-4 weeks now on NXT, which is an hour show when you don't expect them to be feuding on every single episode. And they're already having a 2 out of 3 falls match. I mean, damn, that came kind of quickly, but it should give us at least a semi-interesting main event next week, and let's hope this is the end of the Adrian Neville-Corey Graves feud. I really hope this has been done to put Adrian Neville over and not Corey Graves, because I'm not a massive fan of Corey Graves. Better as a heel, in my opinion. Definitely much, much, much better as a heel. But I'm still not a massive fan of him. But it is a bit early for this match, but it should be a good match next week regardless. Hopefully. The main event on this week's edition of NXT was a very good example of a match which involves more than just in-ring action. I mean, Kassius Ohno and Luke Harper, it started off quite slowly, which some people may not like too much, but they built up the pace as they went through, and they told a pretty good story in the match. I mean, you look at the way Luke Harper was treating Kassius Ohno as his little plaything, like the storyline was going on about in the vignette last week. You know, that's stuff that can resonate with an audience. Storytelling in the middle of the ring with some decent psychology in there too. Kassius Ohno got his hope spots in there. They both kicked out of each other's what could be seen as finishing maneuvers, so they were both made to look pretty damn tough in this match. So Kassius Ohno didn't really look bad, even though he lost to Luke Harper. But, you know, I would have thought Kassius Ohno would have won this. Luke Harper won the previous match they were in, and now he's just won this match. And I'm like, did they bring back Kassius Ohno just to do 2 jobs to Luke Harper? You know, you'd think in the return match, Kassius Ohno would get the victory and they'd maybe launch him off from that. But, you know, Luke Harper right now is doing some pretty good work in NXT, and he's done some pretty good work on Raw as well. I mean, he's part of a very interesting gimmick on Raw right now, which is going to be getting pushed to the moon. Now they're facing CM Punk and Daniel Bryan at Survivor Series. So, and Luke Harper had a very good match with CM Punk to open the show. You know, so a lot of people have told me. So, you know, Luke Harper looks like a pretty damn good talent. I'm not sure what he's doing on NXT. I thought Eric Rowan may come back to NXT. Not exactly Luke Harper, but you've seen from this match how Luke Harper's really grasping his character and grasping the storytelling aspects when he's given some kind of storyline or vignette to follow up on. And I thought this was a pretty good match from a storytelling and psychology standpoint, even though I'm guessing maybe a lot of people wouldn't have liked the in-ring action because it wasn't like the fastest pace, but that's all up to you. I thought this main event was pretty good in what it was supposed to do, even though Cassius Ohno lost, and I really would have thought Cassius Ohno would have won the return match. That's just me, though. I think this week's NXT was a good example of loads of characters being put in jobber matches, and, you know, it wasn't necessarily the characters that I didn't care about. It was just the fact there were so many jobber matches, one after the other after the other. You needed a little bit of variation on NXT, and I didn't really feel we got our usual variation or usual quality of NXT this week. Even though we had a damn good main event. You know, it kind of reminds me of the first NXT show. We had a good main event between Tyson Kidd and Michael McGillicuddy. And this was last year, by the way. And we had loads of jobber matches before that. So it kind of reminds me of that. But, you know, I know they've got some storylines going in NXT. I just wish there's some characters like the Ascension. You know, such characters like Mojo Rawley and Leo Kruger, etc. that I really think should be infused. And that would make the show a little bit more interesting on a week-in, week-out basis, in my opinion. But, you know, we'll see what happens with NXT going forward. And, you know, when Sami Zayn and Bo Dallas will actually return to the NXT arena. Can't wait for Paige and Emma. That should be damn good. And we got some decent stuff lined up for next week. So they're at least trying to hype up next week with the 2 out of 3 Falls match, Corey Graves and Adrian Neville, and the Divas tag match. So that's at least something to look forward to next week, if nothing else. I've been Mr. Parkin. Please leave me your thoughts on this week's edition of NXT down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.